behavior that is unique to fearful avoidance that no other attachment style does is this reality.
No. But wait, you're telling me that not everybody has a simulation of other important people in their life that are running in their heads at all time, and that they don't have conversations, discussions, and arguments in their own mind with this avatar version of the other person in order to like test out different ways that things could happen? No. You're telling me that there are people out there who don't make choices based on not reality, but on the arguments or discussions that you've had in your own head with the avatar simulated versions of the people in your life? Because I took notes. I took a lot of notes from Rachel. Go watch the whole video, but she calls it reality distorting pre-interpretation. She calls it reality distorting pre-interpretation, and essentially this is what fearful avoidance or disorganized attachment style people apparently uniquely do. I've got notes. Let's just go over some potential things that people like me might think. Did you get a short text? Well, it must mean that they are bored. Do you ever think that? Do you get a short text and then in your mind think about why they're thinking that? Neutral tone? OMG. They're disappointed. Do you ever have a delay in communication? Well, that's just rejection. A delay is just rejection. And it goes on and on and on. And I did not realize that not every single person has little avatars that are running simulations in their minds of the people around them, and you can have discussions, arguments. You can gauge what you can have something happen, like not getting messaged for like 4 hours, and then in your mind you have already been running the simulation in the background, and you can guess best guess about why they're doing that. You don't do that? No, but not everybody does that. Because that's like somebody saying, like, what do you mean there's not a voice in your head? What do you mean that there's people out there who don't have voices in their head that talk to them, or that not like those kind of voices, but you know what I mean? Like inner monologues. Apparently there's people that don't have inner monologues. But I'm just saying, like, you're telling me that when somebody doesn't message you for 4 hours, that you're not running like in the movie War Games with Matthew Broderick, and they put the tic-tac-toe board up to the computer, and the computer's like simulating all the possibilities of the tic-tac-toe to try to teach the computer that like war is futile. You're saying that people don't do that type of thing? Come like up with like 5 different potential scenarios. She names them in here. She calls them fear stories. She talks about fear stories and how when something goes wrong or starts to go wrong, or we start to get nervous, we start to like come up with all these catastrophizing fear stories. I like that idea. I like that name, fear stories. These like potential like. And now I have to say, I've been hamming it up a little bit here, but I have actually been trying to really work on this specific thing. I've been trying to work on this specific thing. I've made videos on it where not getting messaged by somebody only means that the information you have is that they just haven't messaged you. That's the only real information you have. You don't need to go into your mind, create a simulation, create all the 5 different most likely scenarios about why that they didn't message you, and including what she said here. What did she say here? Short text? They must be bored. They must be bored. Neutral tone? OMG. They're disappointed. And then, of course, the classic, is there a delay? Well, that's just rejection. they're not going to message me, well, then they automatically must mean that they're rejecting me. Well, that's not the case. The other thing that she brings up is this idea that you are assuming someone's reaction before they actually react or before you have any context. And also she does say that essentially she says that if you start to feel that somebody is potentially like pulling away from you, go watch the video, by the way. She says if you feel like somebody is starting to pull away from you in your own mind, you will sometimes break it off early in order to not allow yourself to be hurt, have that potential to be hurt. So you're breaking something off just for the potential assumption that you're assuming that's what they want. Yeah. And by the way, this is, like I said, go watch her video. She says this behavior, this is for fearful avoidance, disorganized attachment style like me. This behavior is not who you are. It is how our nervous system adapted in order to protect you. So, what are some advice that I would give as somebody who's been trying to practice? Not that I had her video 3 or 4 months ago, but I've been trying to shut down the simulations that were running in my mind, because it was my way of like trying to have every potentiality accounted for and already be ready for things like rejection, already be ready. And she says that here it is. I'll just read this one little part here. She says this is the reality distorting pre-interpretation. Like I said, go watch her video. Reality distorting pre-interpretation is the nervous system creates a shortcut and decides what's happening before it even happens in order to brace for pain. That's the key, bracing for pain. So kind of like on like Minority Report, how like the precognition people could like see the future based on what they could kind of predict it. This is kind of like us imagining potential scenarios so we can potentially brace for pain. So like that example I had given, like I haven't heard from them for a while. Well, what does that mean? Well, that might mean that they're no longer interested. Well, if they're no longer interested, then I can just assume that that's the case, even though I don't have actual information. Then maybe what I want to do is I want to like, I'm not quite feeling this. I'm gonna just break things off, because that's short-circuiting my potential to be hurt. I would rather break something off if there's that, but here's the thing, like we don't know that was what was going to be said, or that we don't know that might be have made the decision, but why not wait? So anyways, she also says that we look through the world. She says we learned to interpret the world through a very specific filter of fear. So anyways, the video blew my mind. Like I said, I basically almost probably wrote the whole thing down here because it was speaking so clearly to me. And I have been trying myself to limit the amount of, or eliminate completely these simulations that I would run. And instead what I do is I just sit and I wait. And people's words and people's actions are what I go based on, not my interpretation of what I think is potentially happening, because that's not reality. That's just my nervous system's way that I've learned from having a chaotic childhood where you never quite knew what you were getting with your parent. So I was having to always account for every potential scenario. So anyways, hopefully this helps. Go watch the video. Thank you for putting the video out.